Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bay Bolts. I am once again joined by my co-host Jake Ricker after a night off. My name is Michael Wax. Welcome back to the Bay Bolts channel. A buzzer beater victory, Jake, as the Lightning win 3-2 over the Chicago Blackhawks. How you doing tonight?
Michael, play all night, baby. What a win. If you guys can't tell, I have completely lost my voice because something I'm doing here up at school is calling games. I decided to call the Lightning game tonight, and boy, what a game to call that was. So, after a thrilling end of that overtime. I mean, I just can't believe it. What a job by the boys to come back in this game after struggling for the first 40 minutes. Got a lot to talk about in this game, but that was one of the most exciting games I have seen in a long, long time, Michael.
Yeah, it was an awesome game, especially towards the end of the game, the third period and overtime. If you're a Lightning fan, but Jake, let's talk a little bit about the first 40, which is I think where a lot of the people are going to brush off because the Lightning came back and they won the game and they played fairly well in overtime and that third period. In the first 40 minutes, it really felt like they just weren't trying, whether it was the power play, whether it was their 5-on-5 play. A couple of lines had some brutal 5-on-5 play. They just weren't. It seems like they weren't trying. I don't know how to put it in other words, but it felt like a lot of the lines, uh, except for possibly the Braden Point line, I thought they had a fine game. They were turning the puck over. They were often in the defensive zone. They had a really hard time clearing the puck. It just seemed like a rough night for especially the forwards tonight.
Yeah, after that first period, I wasn't as concerned as some other people were because, the first period was a lot of back and forth. There were definitely, nobody, neither team could really get anything going. Nobody could cleanly enter the zone. But the second period is what really did it for me. The second period it was just terrible. And I don't know if the Lightning, just got off to a rough start this morning and were just a step off their game or what it was, but something was clearly not working the way it was supposed to. Because as you mentioned, turnovers were happening. They couldn't enter the zone cleanly. It wasn't a good period at all. I mean, I think Vasi was only the real positive, even though he let up 2 goals and unfortunately, his shutout streak did come to an end during this game, which we will talk about a little bit later because he did set a franchise record. But even those goals, I really don't think were even his fault. So because the turnovers were that bad. Let's talk about those goals. I think we should talk about Michael. The first goal was. I hate that had to end Vasi's shutout streak because Vasi made an initial save and the puck went way up in the air and Maroon tried to grab the puck from the air and play it down, and he fumbled the puck. And sure enough, there's a Chicago player standing right in front of him, and he gives it to, I can't remember who it was who scored the goal, but he walks in basically untouched and puts it right in the back of the net. And listen, these things happen, but if you're Maroon, you cannot let that happen when you're trying to just put the puck down the ice. You got to either throw that thing in the corner and just get called for a hand pass and get the whistle, or make sure you clear that thing out of harm's way because that was a really bad turnover to start things off in that second period.
Oh, it was awful. It was an awful turnover. Not only that turnover in the defensive zone, but the turnover he had previously in the offensive zone. Pat Maroon, I think, in the span of 30 seconds, had some of his worst hockey of the season. And, he has not been playing to his Pat Maroon like self of these past few games. But this was a game where, in particular, he looked really, really poor. He looked slower than everybody else. The fourth line really seemed to get dragged down by Pat Maroon. I understand that Matt Joseph and Alexander Volkov didn't have the greatest of games, but it doesn't help when you're continually stuck in the defensive zone because Pat Maroon keeps on making mistakes in the defensive zone. And we talked about Andre Vasilevsky's shutout streak. We might as well get to it right now because it was a historic streak. Andre Vasilevsky passing John Graham for the most amount of time on ice for a goaltender without giving up a goal. John Graham, the previous record holder, at 202 minutes and 46 seconds back in 2006. And Andre Vasilevsky with a decent little chunk of change, if we're being honest. I believe he entered the top 30 tonight when it came to consecutive shutout streak at 228 minutes and 9 seconds. Andre Vasilevsky, king of the world. We're being honest, these past 4 games. Just an incredible streak performance. And it really goes to show that maybe the Lightning haven't been playing their best hockey as of late. But Andre Vasilevsky's been up to the task.
No question about it. Andre Vasilevsky right now is the number one goaltender in the NHL. That's not crazy to say whatsoever. I mean, to go that long without allowing a goal is just absolutely outstanding. And as I mentioned before, the first goal that he let up, both goals he let up weren't even, that much on him. It was more on the way the defense was playing in front of him. So Vassy probably could have had another shutout tonight if it wasn't for that start in that first 40 minutes. So it's so great to have a goaltender like that that can obviously carry the team and really put them on their back when they need them. And honestly, Vassy is what kept the Lightning in this game, because if it wasn't for him, this could have been a 4-0 game by the end of the second period, and the Bolts may have never come back in this one. So awesome for him. And speaking of that, Michael, I don't know if you've noticed this, but that second period and third period were almost identical to each other, into where the Blackhawks started the second period off on the penalty kill, and they got a shorthanded goal to kick things off. Then they picked up another goal. In the third period, the Lightning started off on the penalty kill, and they picked up a shorthanded goal. You know what? Games like this are going to happen. Obviously, if these games consistently happen where you don't have good starts, that's a problem. But, if they happen every once in a while, that's just the way sports are. But good teams, as I always say, know how to make adjustments and come back and win these games. You can never give up. I mean, that's, a life lesson. As cheesy as it is, that's the truth. And the Blackhawks got way too comfortable. And, as one Nashville announcer said the one time, if you give the Lightning an inch, they're going to take a mile. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't give up in this game. They kept pushing. They come back and they get that shorthanded goal in the third period. I have to give props to this team, even though they played a bad 40 minutes, because they did such a good job in that third period. They completely flipped the script and came back in that game. And Michael, can we please talk about Steven Stamkos? What an amazing move he made off the win. By the way, we talk about faceoffs all the time. Why need to be better on faceoff? Yanni Gord wins a faceoff and gets the puck to Steven Stamkos, who makes a ridiculous move past Patrick Kane and just snipes that puck into the back of the net. I think that goal right there is when every Lightning fan knew. I think we knew it by the first goal, but that one right there, everybody knew. They said, we're going to win this game, because that was a fantastic play all around from the Lightning.
Yeah, so a lot of things to touch on right there, because this game did have a lot. We kind of went all over the place, but starting out with that Stamkos goal. First of all, big props to Yanni Gord. It takes a lot to win faceoffs in this league, and I've complained about faceoffs, it seems, game after game. Yanni Gord was 77% today. He was really, really good in the faceoff dot. And I never want to hear about Patrick Kane in the MVP conversation again, because he got absolutely destroyed by Steven Stamkos. Don't care how many points he puts up. Don't care how many flashy plays he has. He got absolutely destroyed, and he's a terrible defender. Never want to hear about him in the MVP conversation again. That being said, it was really nice to see Sorelli's shorthanded goal. It was really nice to see Stamkos's toe drag goal. But I think we need to have a serious conversation about those 40 minutes, because, as you mentioned, this is a situation tonight where you don't want it to repeat. And as you and Victor Hedman after this game said, good teams will find a way to win games. So, hopefully this is a one-game thing. But this one game reminded me, and a lot of people are going to get mad at me for this. This first game reminded me of the 2018-2019 Lightning, where you have a pretty good goalie. you have a opportunity to score your way out of problems, but at the end of the day, the score is in your favor and you just sort of brush it off. The Lightning had way too many of those back in 2018-19. They fixed up their defensive system in 2019-20, got them a Stanley Cup, and they've had a couple of these types of games in this season. And I know they aren't going to be perfect every game, but if you continually have this problem where you don't show up for the majority of the game and then you start to score goals like that, like I said, a snap of the finger in one of my tweets, and I was exactly right. They can turn it on just like that. And they did, and they won. But you can't rely on that every single game because if you do and it doesn't come, you're going to lose games, important games.
No, there's no question about that. You're absolutely right. But here's the thing for me, which by the way, I hate you for bringing up those terrible years. You should never ever do that again. I know like it's such a hard time to think about. But anyway, I'm not concerned. And here's why. I know I'm a Lightning fan, so I'm extremely biased. But here's the thing. This isn't a consistent thing yet. The Lightning have shown time in and time again this season that when they do make mistakes and do have issues, almost every single time, with the exception of maybe penalties at this point, they have found a way to correct those things and change them and fix them. Now, new issues pop up for the Lightning every once in a while, but every time I've seen these guys make a mistake, they fix it in the next game, which is why I'm not really concerned about this. Obviously, if this keeps happening, then it becomes an issue. It becomes a concern. But you've just got to understand these things are going to happen, and I have full faith in this team that they are. And I know you do too. But and you're right to bring up the point that this is something we have to look out for, and that's what we do here on Bay Bolts. We want to bring up and bring up the positive, bring in the negatives, and let you guys dissect it. Which, by the way, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this game. Do you think this is going to be a continual issue for the Tampa Bay Lightning, or do you think thinking like me, where you've seen this team make adjustments before all the time, and you're not really worried about that? Because that's where I'm at right now. We'll see if this continues. Hopefully not. It's going to be a tough game for the Lightning. I want to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but we're going to be playing Chicago tonight by the time you guys are seeing this video in a back-to-back situation here. So that's going to be a real test for these guys. They had a bad game or a bad 40 minutes, and they're coming right back out there, no days off. So it'll be a real test for them to come out there and see if they can get off to a good start this time instead of just finishing strong. They're going to play a full 60 minutes off a back-to-back, which will be tough.
Yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from and saying that this might not be a recurring thing. It just seems like every couple of games we get this score your way out of problems type game where the defense doesn't show up. The line guys, feel free to comment below and let me know that I'm out of line. But this is just what I'm seeing. And I think another thing, just to bring it back over the positives, we need to talk about Jan Ruda because a lot of people had their problems with Jan Ruda throughout the season. They didn't think he was good enough to pair with Hedman. They think he's been turning over, he's been too slow, everything like that. Well, before the game, it turns out that Eric Chernak is now day to day with an upper body injury. Luke Schenn slots into the lineup. That means that Jan Ruda is going to get the bulk of the time for the right-handed defenseman. And he played extremely well. He played over 20 minutes. He had an assist. He was a plus in the plus-minus category, which, again, isn't the be-all, end-all. Had some really solid defensive plays. In terms of a game where, the team defense wasn't as good as it could be, I thought Jan Ruda played a really good game, considering that Luke Schenn and Cal Foote both played under 10 minutes, I believe.
Ruda played a fantastic game, and I noticed him from that first period. You saw him constantly jumping up on the play, getting some offensive opportunities. I thought he was one of the best defensemen tonight, with the exception of Victor Hedman for obvious reasons. We'll get to in just a second. But Ruda was great, and that's really good to see that, he hadn't been really standing out. He had a lot of bad games over the start of this season, but he kept working at it and he played a really good game today. So that's really good to see from him. Hopefully this gives him a little bit of confidence too. And we can see this continue here and we see him continue to get better and better over the course of the rest of the season. So fantastic job by Jan Ruda. He did a great job. hey, he almost scored that first goal. Sorelli was just able to get a stick on it and tip it in. But if it wasn't for Jan Ruda making that excellent shot from the point, that first goal may never happen. So, he was a big part of that first goal as well, getting the assist on that one. A little bummed out he didn't get the goal because I picked him for a lightning strike. So I thought I might have been able to win it there. But nevertheless, great job by Jan Ruda tonight. Hopefully that can continue. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and again, Jan Ruda, pretty good game. The majority of the defense had their moments, but also struggled. I thought Ryan McDonough had a pretty good game as well. But the king of the night in terms of non-goaltenders was Victor Hedman. Let's talk about it. Guys, we're aware that that goal is being credited to Alex Killorn. But if you don't think that Victor Hedman made that play, I implore you to watch it again because it really looked like he was going to cut to the net. He decided to curl back. He even admitted that he would have kept on driving towards the net if he knew how much time was on the clock because he said he had a general idea, but he didn't know the exact amount of seconds. Was told to shoot the puck, wheeled, fired, it went in the net. Lightning win. So Victor Hedman basically wins the game for the Lightning. I understand again that Alex Killorn had that tip, but in terms of a stellar defensive game, Victor Hedman had the 2-on-1 defensive stop. He had a couple other plays where it really looked like he was going to get walked, whether it was against Patrick Kane or Alex DeBrincat, and he stood his ground. And then he had this offensive play that really capitalized on his fantastic night. So Victor Hedman, probably the non-goalie first star of the night. You always got to give your goalie one of the stars. I thought Andre Vasilevsky was fantastic in that 35 of 37, but Victor Hedman was again the team MVP.
No question about it. Victor Hedman was awesome. He actually made me a little bit nervous in those final seconds because, as you said, he may have crashed the net knowing the time. But when he took another turn, I'm thinking, oh, great, we're going to run out of time here. I was ready to go for a shootout. But nevertheless, he did get the shot off. And hey, that just goes to show you that fans yelling shoot in the arena is obviously very beneficial because it does help guys get his shots off. That obviously coming from the bench this time. But and shout out to Killorn for getting a stick on the puck and tipping it in front. It seems like he's really good at tipping pucks in front of the net when it comes to Chicago, if you remember what goal I'm talking about back in 2015. Great job by both those guys. Hedman, he's the best defenseman in all of the NHL. There's no question about it. The fact he was able to get that shut off and put it in a great spot for Killorn is absolutely fantastic. And what a thrilling moment. I thought it potentially may have not have gotten in time as too, is when they initially showed that replay. We saw the puck, on the line at 0.1 seconds. And then as it crossed, it just changed to 0 seconds left on the clock. So you talk about getting in that puck in the back of the net in the nick of time. There was no time left. Although, and then I'll put a picture up on screen. I didn't get to see this because I was watching Fox Sports, but apparently on NBC Chicago, they did show an angle where the puck had just barely crossed the line with 0.2 seconds left. So it clearly did go in, which is why they called it a good goal. And we win the game, picking up that extra point. So, hey, Michael, tough 40 minutes. We talked about it. Hopefully the boys can bounce back strong and not let this carry over into multiple games. They pick up the 2 points though, which is always huge because good teams find good ways to win. What a win! What a game!
Yeah, hopefully this is not a problem that, keeps on happening in terms of the first 40 minutes as we talked about. The Lightning are going to play Chicago tonight because as you're viewing this video, it's coming or it's uploaded the day after tonight's game, the buzzer beater game, as we shall now call it for the rest of the season. Not as nice as the Kucherov buzzer beater, but still pretty nice if we're being honest. Jake, anything else from this kind of wild game?
No, I think that just about does it. I'll tell you what, I was nearly given a heart attack in this game, but it was a fun one. So I really enjoyed it. It'd be really interesting to see how they bounce back in a back-to-back situation here. We'll probably see Chris McElhaney jump in the net for the Lightning tomorrow night on these back-to-backs, as that's usually how things go. So still a long road ahead for the Lightning, but they're playing some of their best hockey right now, 6 wins in a row. So you really can't be that upset. Let's grab number 7.
Yeah, strive for 7. Exactly. We really want them to get closer and closer to that franchise win record. Already had one record set this year. This one by Andre Vasilevsky. Again, huge congratulations to Andre Vasilevsky. But we want to break every other record as well this year. Guys, thank you so much for watching this edition of Quick Strike. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Ring that bell for more notifications. Also, comment below. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, all that good stuff. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Bay_Bolts. Covering the game yesterday, we'll probably cover the game tonight. Come join me for intermission questions, or if you have any other comments, make sure to leave them down below on our Twitter account. I will respond to them for our game updates. Guys, again, thank you so much for watching. For Michael Wax and Jake Recker, this is the Bay Bolts channel. Remember, your Tampa Bay Lightning are 2021 Stanley Cup champions.